Along with 2025 being a great year of rap music, I think we can all collectively agree that there were still some of the most disappointing releases we've seen in a while. Mainly in the mainstream scene of rap and the trap scene, but today I'm going to be going through 5 of the most disappointing releases of 2025. At least the most disappointing albums in my eyes, because there is some objectivity that comes into this because we all have different expectations for albums, and I'm not going to be throwing in Tom MacDonald. This isn't the worst albums of 2025. The most disappointing. No one has expectations for fucking Tom MacDonald or something. So all the albums in this video, I had expectations for. I was excited for, but they were complete disappointments. So starting off, we can go with one of the worst releases of the year and just flavorless, lazy, collaborative projects, Jack Boys 2. Now, I'm gonna be completely transparent with y'all. I'm not gonna lie. I was happy to see this album be completely shit. You wanna know why? Because of the beef that was going on with Travis Scott and Pusha T. Mainly Travis fans acting like Travis Scott clears Pusha T. Pusha T is an unk rapper. He's a no one listens to him. And then Let God Sort Him Out was one of the best albums of the decade, and Jack Boys 2 is one of the worst. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. I'm gonna be completely honest. I was happy to see this album be whack and watch the Travis Scott fans try to cope. But to the people that are trying to say there wasn't that many expectations for Jack Boys 2, Jack Boys 1 wasn't special either. It's not like we were expecting a rodeo. Jack Boys 1 was still solid. I mean, there was some mid stuff to it. It wasn't the biggest thing in the world, but come on, let's look at the track list here. Out West was an absolute banger. There's not a track on Jack Boys 2 like that. Gaddy, like there was good stuff on Jack Boys. So even though that was one of the more like lackluster releases that Travis Scott had, it was still not nearly as bad as Jack Boys 2. The thing about Travis Scott is you can always expect bangers. At least I thought you could always expect a banger or two. Even if collectively as a project it's not the greatest, you're gonna have some bangers. And with Jack Boys 2, I haven't touched this thing since it dropped. Matter of fact, the only song that I actually have on my playlist, the best song isn't even a Travis song. And it's not even on the official release. It's on the digital deluxe, Trip Out with Sheck West and Yeet, and that's because of the production. And I mean, Yeet's flow is catchy on that song, but like Champagne and Vacay was the only solid song on that album. But again, it's a nice little trap song. It's just not special enough to revisit. And besides that, you have Travis kind of blending in some rage elements into some boring trap beats. It's just so lazy and directionless. All the features are a joke. This is such a weak group when you just listen to Jack Boys 2. Nothing was flashy, nothing stood out. This was just an empty, lazy project of leftovers and recycled flows. This had no inspiration at all. This was such an uninspired, boring project that I haven't touched since it dropped. And to be quite frankly honest, it's like a 3 out of 10 album. I mean, there's nothing about this. And yeah, that is disappointing for me because I would have expected some bangers on this. And for this track list being much longer than Jack Boys 1, I would have expected some solid stuff, not PBT and Shine. This was a joke. This was a huge disappointment. Next up, sticking in the same scene of trap music and mainstream rap, we have U.Y. Scooty by Young Thug. So here's what happens. Young Thug gets out of jail, drops Dumb, Dumb and Dumber with Lil Baby on Wham, and I thought he had a great appearance on that song, and that was the best on Wham, one of the only redeemable qualities about that album. So at that point, like, I'm really excited for Thug to be back. I'm excited for his next album. I think his return from jail is going to reward in a great focused album with that great feature. And then he drops Money on Money, which was solid. Like, this guy had some hype, and I just thought the whole idea of getting out of jail and just instantly dropping that feature, like, I had hopes for U.Y. Scooty. We haven't had a Thug project since Business has been business, and outside of that, really, we haven't had the greatest Thug releases lately. But I had a lot of hope about this album, despite Business is Business only having a few good tracks, even Punk. But then we got the album cover. Okay, yeah, that has nothing to do with the music. It has nothing to do with the music. Well, clearly it did. Clearly it did. The second I saw this album cover, I knew this album was gonna be a joke. This man, Young Thug, is out of his damn mind. I knew the second I saw that album cover, it was some goofy shit going on, but I mean, I had some hope still, but I really kind of lost it all after that. But the album drops, and it was one of the just most laughable listens of the year. So many of these songs were just an absolute joke. It wasn't a full wholehearted return for Thug. I mean, he just kind of threw him some half-baked shit, and every time he tried to be passionate and introspective, it just came out so forced as well on a song like Sad Spider. You think I'm trying to listen to a grown man talk about being a sad spider? That's corny. And then outside of the vulnerable tracks, it's him trying to do his trap style with some basic production, dude. Just the same trap beats that we've heard for over a decade now. It wasn't special. The features sucked. He had a song with Cardi B. Ken Carson had a mid-verse. What was the, oh my goodness, Sexy Red with Mommy? Maybe the worst song I have heard in 2025, outside of some of the Lil Wayne stuff. And getting through half of this album, the only exciting thing to look forward to is the 21 Savage feature, Travis Scott in Future. But dude, them and then Thug, like that's just the most mainstream trap group that like it just screams generic trap music. And that's exactly what it is. Like not one of them had a special verse, but overall, this project had no direction at all. Thug was just doing so much stuff half baked every time. And I mean, you see a song like Ninja where he just starts screaming the hard R at the end. It's like, dude, what are we doing here? This had no focus whatsoever, no standouts either from one of the highlights of trap in this past decade, the amount of bangers that Thug has always given us. So this was a huge disappointment. For this next project, this is a mixtape that I was actually really excited for. Out of UI, Scooty, and Jackboys 2, I was actually probably more excited for this than those. I actually had really high expectations for this tape. I was excited. And that's because when this guy drops, you always get standout features, you get bangers. He's a great producer. This is going to be a futuristic summer by Metro Boomin. Heroes and Villains is still one of the best trap releases in the past like 5 to 7 years. Absolute banger after banger. So we're all getting excited for a Metro mixtape, and then we get a 2-disc mixtape of 24 songs going back to 2010's Atlanta Trap, with no standout features. On paper, there's maybe a few tracks that look like standouts, but they're absolutely not. This was a listen once and never touch it again. This was the most disappointing release, one of the most disappointing releases of the year. And again, what makes it so much more disappointing is the fact of how weak the mainstream has been and the trap has been. No radio hits or those hard-hitting bangers that we usually get. And Metro Boomin is one of those guys who have carried that in the past 10 years, producing tracks for big artists and just his tapes. Obviously, like I said, Heroes and Villains. So seeing him drop a tape called A Futuristic Summer, like towards summertime, that gets me so excited. Some summer bangers, such a fun time to drop a great hard-hitting project, but we just get a homage to early 2010s trap music. Like no one asked for this, and you can pay respect to the era and have like some nostalgic songs, like a track or two, but 24 songs, an entire project dedicated to that when the mainstream is weak and trap is weak. Like, why did we do this? And then Metro Boomin goes on Twitter and starts ranting and just acting like a 6-year-old. He was so immature about the reception he had on this shit ass mixtape. And I know I'll probably have more Atlanta folks coming at my head. This wasn't for you anyway. This is for the true Atlanta people. This is not for the white people. Go listen to your white boy music. Cool. Listen to your half-baked Atlanta trap instead of just going back and listening to some Waka Flocka Flame, dude. So many people tried to defend this mixtape for the sole reason of it just being a nostalgic homage to 2010's trap. Like, if I go put out a 20-song album right now of psychedelic rock music that sounds decades outdated and I say it's a homage to 60s Jimi Hendrix, does that make it good? Like, the quality of the music has nothing to do with it being a homage. The quality of this mixtape is not good. I don't care if it's a homage. It's not good. Especially not good enough to give us 2 discs of it. Why is there so much? A Futuristic Summer does not give you those old school Atlanta trap vibes. It just doesn't. All it does is give you half-baked, boring ass shit. Again, if I wanted to listen to some nostalgic Atlanta's trap, I could go find 20 albums better from the actual era instead of putting out just a weak mixtape. So in a time we needed a Metro project, we needed those standouts, he releases this. It was just the worst time to release a 24-song nostalgic homage to Atlanta's trap, man. This was so disappointing. For this next one, probably going to be the most controversial of the video, and it pains me to say this because I was so excited for this album. I literally had a video out of my most anticipated albums, and this was one of them, and it ranked pretty high because absolutely love this artist, and he was going on a run this year. Lonely at the Top by Joey Badass. Now, simply enough, you can just look at how this album did and see how huge of a flop it was for Joey. This album sold under 9,000 copies the first week. It didn't even hit the Billboard 200, and that's the first time in Joey's career that has happened. And yeah, that's not a big deal, but you got to think about how Joey was talking at the beginning of the year. We can't let the TDE beef, the Ray Vaughn beef go to like just disappear. He was going at Kendrick's throat, calling out rap battles and, you know, calling TDE irrelevant and Ray Vaughn irrelevant. Like, he was talking all this smack, but then dropped an album that completely flopped. Like the album or not, that's a pretty embarrassing look. And then the other biggest thing is, like I said, just me personally, how excited I was for a Joey project. It's been since 2022 since we've had a Joey project, and he had all this beef happening. He was dropping some good singles. So yeah, I was really excited and honestly thought we were going to get a killer album from Joey. So I definitely had maybe too high expectations for this thing, but he released the weakest project in his catalog, and it's not necessarily a bad album. This is definitely easily the best album in this list, but it's a decent, kind of a mid project. It almost feels like a mixtape. Joey was coming off of his weakest 2000 where we got Survivor's Guilt, maybe the best song in his entire catalog. You had Make Me Feel, you had Show Me, Wanna Be Loved with Jid. Like, even though this was just a solid album, nothing crazy, definitely some skips in it, there was great stuff to revisit. While Lonely at the Top for the most part is forgettable, the intro track is great, Dark Aura, but I would take Wanna Be Loved and Survivor's Guilt, a lot of stuff on 2000 over it. And then outside of that, I liked BK's Finest, but it's kind of a formulaic track. Four artists just respecting Brooklyn, showing that nostalgic boom bap vibe with the same flow. I mean, it kind of gets old halfway through the song. Speeding Through the Rain, Still with Absol and Rhapsody, that's a pretty good song. I like that, but for the most part, nothing on here is standout, perfect, or special. It really just feels like Joey did not know which direction to go with this album. It feels very inconsistent sonically, even rap-wise. He has a track where he's trying to, experiment and be melodic. Then you almost have like some dance track with Super Flea, and then you got some more of that just good old authentic Joey boom bap tracks, but he's done that so much better in the past. So really everything he did here was returning with kind of some half-baked stuff. It wasn't the highest replayability. A lot of this stuff was boring for the most part. And I mean, it's so disappointing to say that, as much as I love Joey and as much as I was excited for this album and thought this was going to be a huge representation of Joey Badass after he was talking all that smack, but it just wasn't, man. And you look at his discography, it's at this point, it's only gotten weaker and weaker and weaker. So hopefully he can bounce back with his next album. I do still have hope in him because he still is a talented rapper. I just think he needs to find a clear direction and match his great rapping ability with better production, because that was also some of the problems with 2000. And then for the most disappointing rap release of 2025, this should be a no-brainer. Arguably the most disappointing release in the past decade of rap music and in the 2020s decade. It's the Carter 6 by Lil Wayne, man. What a disrespect towards the legendary series that the Carter is. I mean, I just remember when this dropped, seeing all the memes about it and seeing all the videos saying that no, Lil Wayne was cloned. This is not the real Lil Wayne. The government cloned him. And it's like, yeah, why would Lil Wayne in any right mind put out this project with a beat like Peanuts to an Elephant and some of the tracks he did, knowing he has the Carter 2, 3, 4, like he has these projects in this legendary series that will always be remembered in rap. Why would he do this? Lil Wayne's mind is baked. There is no other reason someone puts out an album like the Carter 6, especially a rapper as legendary as Lil Wayne. Your album is in talks with some of the worst albums of the decade. Lil Maboo, you're a legend, man. You cannot be doing that. And like, it's just everything about it's bad. I don't even know where to start. This is the most messy album of the year, with just jumping from concept to weak rapping to shit production. This was the biggest joke of an album in 2025 production wise. Garbage. Garbage. I mean, I don't even know what motivates you to call up Jelly Roll for a feature, especially for the chorus. Talking about snakes ain't always in the grass, sharks ain't always in the water. Like, this is a meme album. This is cartoon shit, dude. And everything else, like Island Holiday, what a joke, dude. Peanuts to an Elephant, like, we're sampling an elephant. How do you listen to that beat and want to rap on it? Like, how? I don't know. I can't express the thought process it must have took to rap on Peanuts to an Elephant with a name as big as Wayne and think it's gonna work out. Like, what were his ears hearing? Is this dude deaf? Is he deaf? There is no way he heard the production of this album, especially something like Maria also. What is this shit? Are we sampling Beethoven, Being Myself, Moolah coming in? This Alone in the Studio with My Gun with Kodak and MGK. This is a nasty, smelly album, bro. It is an absolute joke. And I'll never be able to express enough why a legend like Lil Wayne put out an album this messy and unfocused, but, you know, more specifically with the beats that he had. Why is Wayne always so awful choosing producers, dude? But this album's an absolute joke, and obviously this isn't an artist like YBN Namir that, you know, he dropped Soul Train. Like, this is a legend, dude. That's what makes this the most disappointing of the year, because an artist like Lil Wayne shouldn't be releasing an album this bad, let alone in the Carter series. Why? Why? What are we doing, Wheezy? But like, this was the only album I stayed up for this year. Believe it or not. I remember this coming out. It was 12 o'clock, and I was like, you know what? I could get this recorded. I could react to this video and get it out in the morning. So I did it. The one album I stayed up for was the Carter 6, and I haven't stayed up for an album since, and I probably won't. I'll get my beauty sleep and react to it in the morning. But like, it was an absolute disappointment, man. To see the Carter 6 getting announced, I remember the excitement, man. We're getting the Carter 6 in 2025. We have a lot of standout releases coming this year. I mean, there's people talking about, yeah, this is going to be album of the year. When you're looking at 2025, the albums that were out at that time, Balloonerism, I mean, you had the Larry June album at that time. You had Clips announcing that they're going to drop that album. You had a lot of these drops that were going to happen, and Lil Wayne was with those artists at the top for some of the most exciting anticipated albums. So, like, we were all excited for this. Obviously, it's the Carter 6, dude. It's Lil Wayne. But then this is what the album turns into, dude. Like, it was an awful, absolute joke of an album, man. And from this point forward, looking at Lil Wayne, yeah, this dude's been washed for some time now. He hasn't had a standout release since 2018. Like, Funeral was garbage as well. This man has not done anything really damn near the past decade. Like, he has not been that good. So looking at the future for Lil Wayne dropping an album this abysmal, what is his next album going to be like? Like, the dude really needs to hang it up. But those are the most disappointing rap releases of 2025. I appreciate all of you for watching this video and sticking till the end. And let me know in the comments what you think is the most disappointing rap release of this year. Check out some more of the content, dive into the social media, and I'll see you all in my next video.